Well, hello there, guys. Welcome to the new DM channel. This is Ariel, and I'm coming to you with a end of the week video. Um, I was going to make a video update regarding the weekly news, but really the only thing that's been in the news, and I'm a little tired at this point about reading with the whole controversy on the OGL or the Open Game License, and I don't have to rehash. If you are a fan of RPGs or a fan of Dungeons and Dragons specifically, then you have heard about the Open Game License controversy, and my personal take on it is I wanted to wait to see what the official response from Wizards of the Coast would be before actually elaborating on it, because nothing was really formalized. Nothing, as far as I could tell, there was nothing formal from Wizards of the Coast until now. They've been kind of silent about the whole thing. And honestly, I personally felt like it was a little bit. I can see both point of views and the point of view of the creators, especially. But I kind of thought it was a nothing but, well, take that back. I thought it was kind of much ado about nothing, or maybe a little exaggeration or a hyperbole on fan response and on the response from the independent publishers and creators that undoubtedly would have been negatively affected by what Wizards of the Coast was proposing, but because I felt that it wasn't finalized yet, and what everything was being talked about because of a leak, a supposed leak or alleged leak that was made available from insiders. That's the thing, is like being in the journalism profession for all this time, I don't really put a lot of stock in rumors or leaks, or even though they might be from a credible source. Um, until I kind of like to verify things, before I jump in and give my take on that. So I was kind of waiting for Wizards to have an official response. So we'll kind of sort of go back in time a little bit to yesterday and this week, and see what some of it the discussion was. And it's been all over the web and all over Twitter. So people are still responding. And from what I gather, it looks as though um, Wizards of the Coast did see a huge impact in terms of like the negative feedback. So they were kind of gauging what the feedback would be. So let's talk about that today. That's a brief topic of the end of the week RPG and Dungeons and Dragons news for Friday, um, January 13th. Yeah, today's Friday the 13th. Bad news, bad luck if you believe in Friday the 13th, or if you're superstitious, if you are um, uh, a staff member, or you have stock with Wizards of the Coast, because they've been negatively impacted by this whole controversy since the announcement was first leaked. Okay, here we go. So we're going to start with an update on the open game license. This was the official response just 9 hours ago now, earlier today on Friday, from Wizards of the or from D&D Beyond, which is owned by Wizards of the Coast. And it basically, I wanted to highlight and go through what what they're saying. So this is from the D&D Beyond staff. When we initially conceived of revising the OGL, it was with three major goals in mind. First, we wanted the ability to prevent the use of D&D content from being included in hateful and discriminatory products. Second, uh, we wanted to address those attempting to use D&D in Web3, blockchain games, and NFTs by making clear that OGL content is limited to tabletop role-playing content like campaigns, modules, and supplements. And third, we wanted to ensure that the OGL is for the content creator, the homebrewer, the aspiring designer, our players, and the community, not major corporations to use for their own commercial and professional purpose. Driving these goals were two simple principles. Number one, our job is to be good stewards of the game, and number two, the OGL exists for the benefit of the fans. Nothing about those principles has wavered for a second. That was why our early drafts of the new OGL included the provisions they did. That draft, let me take these glasses off, make it easier to read. That draft language was provided to content creators and publishers so their feedback could be considered before anything was finalized. In addition to language, allowing us to address discriminatory and hateful conduct and clarifying what types of products the OGL covers, our drafts including royalty language designed to apply to large corporations attempting to use OGL content. It was never our intent to impact the vast majority of the community. However, it is clear from the reaction that we rolled uh, a 1. It is clear from the reaction that we rolled a 1. It has become clear that it is no longer possible to fully achieve all three goals while still staying true to our principles. So here's what we are doing. The next OGL will contain the provisions that allow us to protect and cultivate the inclusive environment we are trying to build and specify that it covers only content for TTRPGs. That means that other expressions, such as educational and charitable campaigns, live streams, cosplay, VTT uses, etc., will remain unaffected by any OGL update. Content already released under 1.08 will also remain unaffected. So that's the bottom line from that. Then they go talk about the royalty structure, how it's still being worked on, and a couple of last thoughts. First, we won't be able to release today because there was a lot of I guess initially they were planning on releasing it today, but they need to take a step back and second, we're going to hear what people. Well, second, you're going to hear people say that they won and we lost because making our your voices heard forced us to change our plans. Well, I can't read today. Let me try it again. Second, you're going to hear people say that they won and we lost because making your voices heard forced us to change our plans. Those people will only be half right. They won, and so did we. Our plan was always to solicit input of our community before any update to the OGL. The draft shippings you've seen were attempting to do that. We want to always delight fans and create experience together that everyone loves. We realized we did not do that this time, and we are sorry for that. Our goal was to get exactly the type of feedback on which provisions worked and which did not, which we ultimately got from you. Any change this major could only have been done well if we were willing to take that feedback, no matter how it was provided. So we are. Um, Thank you for caring enough to let us know, blah, blah, blah. So basically, they give, we were wrong. The statement is, we were wrong in attempting to do this. Um, and we heard your voices. So there's two things. You can either believe the company that they were sincere the whole time, they wanted to get feedback from the fans before doing anything, or what is probably more realistic, to be upfront about it, or to be honest, is that they had this plan all along to change the OGL and to invalidate the previous OGL because they were worried about the monetary structure and some of the reasons that they cited, which might be valid. And then they got all this pushback, and they saw all these videos that have come out, and this whole week has been a real bad week for Wizards of the Coast. It has been a really bad week for parent company Hasbro, and so they pull back, and they are doing a little bit of major after the major uh, stepping back. What's the term? They are they're kind of retracting what they had put out there because they saw that the feedback from the community was not a positive one. And in addition to that, they got hit in their pockets. So I don't know. Part of me thinks that this whole a lot of this was blown out of proportion, like I said earlier, because um, nothing was yet finalized, and we were people were operating from a lot of superstitions, a lot of assumptions that what was going to go down was going to be finalized and there was not going to be any pushback from it or that the pushback was going to be ignored. But you have to give credit to a little bit of credit to Wizards of the Coast for actually listening and ultimately doing the right thing and not plowing ahead with the original plans to revoke the OGL. I mean, part of it is monetary, of course, they got hit with in the wallet, which is the only way some of the big corporations can be affected, because the D&D D&D Beyond subscriptions, which I do not have a D&D Beyond subscription. I almost got a basic one a long time ago, but I'm kind of the guy that will buy the books. I got the Dragonlance book, as I mentioned earlier, and I was planning to get the book sort of long because I'm more old school and I like the hard copies. I don't mind paying for a good glossy book with a nice hardcover, and with some really good artwork. Because I enjoy reading them. Like I'm only halfway through the Dragonlance book right now, but I'm really enjoying reading it. Even though I may never run the campaign from start to finish, or I may just take little chunks of the text and apply it to my own homebrew or my own adventures. I definitely want to have my characters or my players venture into Kryn and venture into the Dragonflight setting. But I digress. I was not affected. I could not really cancel my D&D Beyond subscription because I'm not really a digital guy. So you know, the I use D&D Beyond for reference. Yeah, I'm sure if I'm at the table, got my laptop, and I don't want to, I want to look up something fast. It's really convenient to have it there. But there are other websites that do the same thing. So you have resources at your fingertips as a DM and as a player. And but it was interesting to see it was an interesting case study because you got to see a little bit of how the social media space can galvanize the community, but at the same time, it can also push to um, to jump to some early conclusions about something that may or may not go down, or may not go down like we thought it was going to go down. And B, there's also, or maybe you guys can tell me in the comments. You think I'm naive? You think that because the pushback and the negative response, and of course the cancellation of all the subscription actually made them go back and made them take a step back and made them realize that the community wasn't having it. But anyway, that was the response. There is another. If you bear with me, I will switch over to that and take a look at this one article. Uh, yeah, this is from I think it's from TechCrunch, and it talks about the response. So this article, yeah, it's TechCrunch, and it came out earlier today, and it's by Amanda Silberling. So I want to give credit to the author. And it reads: After a week of silence amid intense backlash, Dungeons and Dragons publisher Wizards of the Coast has finally addressed its community's concerns about changes to the open game licensing. The OGL has existed since 2000 and has made it possible for a diverse ecosystem of third party creators to publish virtual tabletop software, expansion books, and more. Many of these creators can make a living thanks to the OGL, but over the last week, a new version of the OGL leaked after WotC sent it to some top creators. More than 66,000 Dungeons and Dragons fans signed an open letter under the name hashtag OpenDND ahead of an expected announcement, and waves of users deleted their subscriptions to D&D Beyond, WotC's online platform. Now, WotC admitted that it's clear from the reaction that we rolled a one, or in non-Dungeons and Dragons speak, they screwed up. Um, and I'm going to pause here to say that there was, I saw some discussion on Twitter and online about how this was going to affect Matthew Mercer, and how Matthew Mercer was kind of keeping quiet because there were contractual obligations that he couldn't really directly come out and support the fandom and criticize Wizards of the Coast for this proposed OGL revision, because it would not be legally prudent for him to do that. And of course, the whole time I thought to myself, this is not going to affect Mercer at all. He has connections with D&D, with Wizards of the Coast. Yeah, he has his own publishing uh, company, or publishing wing of the company, where he publishes Tal'Darai, or whatever those Excelsior type 5e books are for his homebrew setting. But he has worked with D&D, with Wizards of the Coast on D&D material, on 5e material. So of course he can talk to them, and I never thought that they were gonna be adversely affected, because one or two things would have happened under most extreme cases. That once, and there was a speculation about this, once the current campaign of Critical Role ended, they could always go into a RPG style, and they might still do that who knows? But they could always go into using another system, or go to a system agnostic form of streaming. So it was very unlikely with the deals that Mercer, he has the Excelsior books and other content that they're producing for Wizards of the Coast, and Hasbro in as the parent company. It was very unlikely to me that Critical Role was going to be um, adversely affected. Of course, there's always the people that jumped the gun and were talking about how this was the end of Critical Role and how it was terrible because their favorite show was going to be impacted. Blah 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 blah. A lot of speculation, nothing based on actual fact. Direct actual fact. Um, but they wanted to say that we wanted to ensure that the OGL is for the content creator. This is back to the article. The home brewer, we read that part over from the official. This is just from the official D&D Beyond statement that they put out today. Uh, Fans have critiqued this language since WotC, a subsidiary of Hasbro, is a major corporation in itself, and Hasbro earned 1.68 billion in revenue during the third quarter of 2022. TechCrunch spoke to content creators who had received the unpublished OGL update from WotC, the terms of the update, and then it goes to talk about what the terms were, which because they're pulling it back, it doesn't really, it's all news. It doesn't even apply anymore. Um, Mage Hand Press editor in chief Mike Holick, who organized the hashtag OpenDND letter, says his business would be impacted by this 25% royalty, which is was one of the major proposals that people were against. And he told TechCrunch most Kickstarters that raise the amount of money are not even making 25% profit, since most of the money raised is going to fulfill orders, printing books, and paying collaborators. And then he talks about what the costs are associated with those efforts. The fan community also worried about whether WotC would be allowed to publish and profit off third-party work without credit to the original creator. Noah Downs, partner at Premac Rogers and a Dungeons and Dragons live streamer, told TechCrunch that there was a clause in the document that granted WotC a perpetual royalty-free sub-license to all third-party content created under the new OGL. Now, WotC appears to be walking back both the royalty clause and the perpetual license. Um, so they're going back on that. Um, Now, the interesting part is they talk about Paizo, which is the publisher of Pathfinder, which is a popular game covered under WotC's original OGL. Everybody that plays RPG knows Pathfinder. Paizo's owner and presidents were leaders at Wizards of the Coast at the same time that the original OGL was originally published in 2000, and wrote in a statement yesterday um, that the company was prepared to go to court over the idea that what you could suddenly revoke the OGL license from existing projects. Along with other publishers like Cobalt Press, uh, uh, Chaosium, and Legendary Games, Paizo announced it would release its own OpenRG creative license. So this kind of um, takes away from some of the thunder of Paizo's announcement that they would make that as a backup, their own license available so that third-party creators could continue to make RPG products similar to D&D without using the D&D brand and the D&D open game license having to sign on to a more restrictive license. Um, and It's an interesting article. I think I'm going to link both of these in the description so that you can take a look at it and peruse it at your own leisure. But that was the major news that broke earlier today, was the final response, or the response that everybody was waiting from Wizards of the Coast regarding this open game license. Um, yeah, there's so many headlines, and I think in the interest of not having this video be super long, my final thoughts on this was no matter what happened originally with the original restrictive OGL, I was still going to purchase some of the 5e books that were, because people were like, "Oh, you got to boycott. You can't. This company sucks, and you can't continue to give them your money." And I was like, it does affect me in the sense that I was planning to work on one of the my goals for 2023 with my friend Chuck, was we were working on our own supplement, which would have been affected. But now the OGL, it seems like Wizards is backing off of that, so that's not going to be a concern. And as a player, it wasn't really going to affect my plans to purchase some of the remaining adventure books. I'm not going to get any source books anymore because I have them all, but I was going to purchase some of the 5e adventure books, such as the ones that I don't own, like the book about the Abyss, the war between the demons and the devils has always been interesting to me, and I think that book, even though again, like the Dragonlance, I wouldn't run it cover to cover. Probably, I would just take chunks and bits of it and make my own. That's a good adventure book that I would like to get my hands on. Um, I thought about getting Strixhaven just to please, in case I have any more Magic the Gathering enthusiasts that are coming into D&D, and I might still do that in the future. But at the moment, I probably won't because I don't have interest in that setting. And there's very few additions to character races, sub races, and elements, monsters or creatures um, that I feel that would be essential for me to have that as a resource. But anyway, that is my take on the latest end of the week developments with the open game license and with everything that's going on. It's been a very interesting week, although I'm glad it's kind of coming to. I hope this kind of puts this chapter to a close because honestly, I'm tired of uh, looking at my feed with D&D videos, and that's all everybody was talking about. A big topic, but it was getting kind of redundant and repetitive. And in my opinion, it was a little bit of an overreaction. But I don't know, maybe it worked. Maybe it worked because people are voted, as they say, with their wallet, and they canceled their D&D Beyond subscriptions. And I think that probably scared Hasbro and the stockholders of the company, because nothing does it more like losing profit. Nobody wants to lose profit when you're in it for to make money. So that's it for me. Thank you. If you like this kind of content, go ahead and hit the like and or consider subscribing. And have a great week. And I'll see you guys soon with more Dungeons and Dragons and RPG updates.